Good morning, guys. We are out here on Lake Hamilton. This place is, I consider this place my baby. I live on it. I fish it on average probably 3 days a week. I mean, I know this thing like the back of my hand. I've spent time over here. I remember coming over here when I was 4, 5, 6 years old. My dad bring me over here and fishing on Hampton. It's about 15, 18 minutes from where I grew up. And we would come over here and throw a hair jig, a little hair jig on a spinning rod and a shad wrap. And man, we caught so many bass, had so many great days over. This place is a fish factory. I would say probably one of the best, if not the best, in my opinion, lakes we have in the state of Arkansas. Lake Hamilton's had a lot of big tournaments over here. The BFL All-American, Forthwood Cups, and it's always been very low weight winning tournaments, 10 pounds a day, but that's because they always come in July, August, when our fishing is absolutely brutal. And you know, that was before live scopes. Since live scopes come out, we figured out that the reason it has gotten so tough and why it gets so tough on our lakes in July, August, September is these fish legit get out in the middles of the river channels, middles of these bays. They relate to absolutely no points, no brush, anything at all, and they get in these big mega schools, 50, 200, 250 bass in a school, and they fall around big balls of bait. And unless they come up schooling, you're not going to catch them. And they just don't a whole lot in July and August. Maybe very first thing in the morning and very late in the afternoon. So that's why it's always been so tough on these lakes around here in those times of months, and they've just never really showcased what their capabilities are. But we're going to show you guys today just how awesome Lake Hamilton is. We're at the end of October. This lake every year, the first day in November, they start to drop it. They drop it 5 foot, and the first day in March, they bring it back up 5 foot. This lake's very stable. Does the same thing every year at the same time. We've got a lot of grass in here now, but the fish population, fish quality has just exploded in Lake Hamilton over the last 5 to 8 years. So I'm excited to get out here today, catch a few for you. The water's 68 degrees this morning. Should be a great day, and we'll see you guys on the first spot. First cast of the day, we on the board already. So guys, we're out here on a point. You can see I've got a bunch of brush marked out here. You can see my brush emblems, and I got here where we are. This point extends out, and just big schools of shad out here. Lake Hampton is so full of bait, and these fish sit on the end of these points, and they just wait on these groups of shad to swim by. And when they do, the schools come up and ambush them. A lot of them come up schooling. Cool thing about this 3DB weight bait though is the fish don't have to be on the surface. It's subsurface bait. It runs pretty shallow. You can look at them all schooling out here. They're starting to come up everywhere out here, see them. But this being a subsurface bait, these fish, I can really call them up. They don't have to be on top to catch, but if they are, it's great. But man, it's awesome when this time of year and how they get up on top, and they're waiting on these balls of bait, and you can just catch fish after fish after fish. I'm gonna throw the 3DB pencil out there. When they're on top like that, I can throw this 3DB pencil and really get them to come up and get it. But I fish it really fast over this stuff, this pencil, really quick. It's not something I fish slow. Look at them all out there on the graph. See all them fish right there on the graph? Look at all them bass right there. They're coming up everywhere out here. Some right there actively coming up. Just put it right in on him, got him. It's the middle guy, and there's so many good ones that are coming up. A little spotted bass. It's so crucial to get back in there as quickly as you possibly can with a bait when they're actively up on top. Because when they're actively up on top like that, they bite every time. There's a little spotted bass. A little spotted bass right here I'm catching. You're gonna swim big largemouth here in a minute. I mean, there's a good one. Got her. There's a fat one. Fish are just out here eating shad. They out here with really deep water. It's a solid one there. Solid 2.5 pound. I mean, these fish are just so blocky here. Here comes some more big ones. Got some trash on that one I was reeling in. Another solid one on the 3DB wake bait. Man, these fish are so fat this time of year, eating all that shit. And another one of these, a bunch of them swimming around out here. It's a done deal with a pencil though when they're up like that. Back off of them. Oh, no pencil. There's a ton of them out there coming up. I'm gonna get out there and get me another one. That's a solid 2.5. Gosh, the fish are so fat. There they are. Another one. It's gonna happen quick right here. Right at the boat. Stay on there. There we go. There's almost a 3-pounder. You see, I watch them fish, they coming up. That one bit it with that much line out. When you find them when you get them and they're actually up active on top, typically I can take that pencil, the fish don't have to be on top at all. I can just throw it out over where I see them on the live scope and they'll come up and get it. But when you got a chop on water like this, it's hard to get them to come to the surface to it, but those there had come up and I was able to get them to come and get the top water. Thank you, baby. You know, out here on Hampton, you know, it's a lake I've got a lot of experience on, but anytime I go to a new body of water that I've never really been to before, this time of year, especially October, November, all the way through the rest of the fall, one of the main deals for me is finding these places out close to the river channel. Like right here, we're on a point, the river channel comes in, swings right up against this big flat point out here, and then starts to swing back out here on the tip. Scattered brush piles, standing timber, whatever it may be, grass, that's the kind of places that's gonna house big, giant schools of bass. And you know, here on Hampton, when I'm calling a big school, I'm literally talking 500 to 1,000 fish on some of these places. It's incredible how many bass will get on these places and work together to ambush these schools of shad as they swim along the river channel. And once they kind of get in there close to that point, these fish will come up busting all over them. That's by far my favorite. You know, another place that I really like is back in creeks, ditches, funnels, places for these fish to really start moving back into this fall. And these fish out here on the main lake never really make a move back. The only time they move up is to spawn. The rest of the time, they stay out here on this main lake. They live out here. They're shad feeders. They're really nomadic a lot of times, but this time of year, they really like to group up on these river channel drops around vertical cover. But if you got a lake that's got a lot of these creek ditches, like here on Hamilton, there's a lot of places I can go and get back in these creeks. These fish will be in these ditches towards the back, shallow pieces of brush. They'll suspend out over the creek channel. You know, sometimes out over 20 foot of water, they may only be 8 to 10 foot deep. Sometimes they're out over 40, 50 foot of water. Just depends on what kind of depth your creeks have to offer in your lakes. You know, a lot of those Ozark lakes out in the middle of these creek ditches, it might be 50 to 100 foot deep. But here on Hamilton, their average creek ditch depth is going to be anywhere between 15 and 30. I mean, that's about as deep as you're going to get, but those fish will start to move back further and further as the fall progresses. As it gets cooler, they'll get deeper, or they'll get deeper and deeper back in that creek ditch. And those are the places I'm really looking. You know, those fish back in the creeks, you can go to catching on chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, things like that. Squarebill, Yo-Zuri squarebill is great The 3DB prop works really well. 3DB pencils work very well, but I like to stay out here on the main lake where the big giant numbers of fish are. Big fish too. These are a lot better quality fish that are out here on this main lake stuff. Just don't think I can reach them. They're about to come up busting out there. See, heard one come up way out there. I'm gonna pick up the pencil. If they'll come up like that, I'd like to catch them on this, because this, I mean, them some nice ones too. Got him. Little spot. 3DB pencil fish. Hurry up, there's a whole bunch of them up on top right now. Gosh, these hooks get them so good. Got that one. See if I can get right back in there and get another one. Got him. That's a good one. There's a 3-pounder. And you saw I got that spot off and immediately got right back in there. That is so crucial this time of year. You don't want to waste any time. You want to get that bait back in the water as quickly as you can when them fish are up aggressive on top like that, busting in these bait balls, and they're still coming up out there. Get another one. Look, it's got some really cool black stuff on it. Man, these fish are so beautiful. Black spot on its head. Let's get right back in there and get us another one. Get it. You know, when I'm throwing this top water, I'm working it extremely fast, as you can tell. I'm not letting any grass grow under it. This is not a bait that you want to work slow this time of year. You want that sucker moving. That's the cool thing about this 3DB pencil, is it's a great fast action top water, and tying that loop knot makes a big difference too. It allows that bait to really have hard side to side action and allows me to work it a lot quicker. You see this, it's called a bunch. It's all beat up. Just barely missed them. I mean, they're everywhere right on the surface right there. I don't know how they're not up. Here they come. Looks a lot. Had a much bigger one, bought it, missed it right there the first time. Still a solid one. But you just keep that thing coming. You know, once I get one on it, I start working it even faster, because you need to make them feel like that bait knows they're there all of a sudden, and know that it's being pursued and it's trying to flee away from them. That's the biggest key in the fall time that I can tell you guys is, once a fish starts pursuing it, you know a fish is on it. I mean, speed it up even more to make it this fish feel like that bait senses its presence and is trying to flee from him, because that's the natural thing. That's what naturally happens. So many people I watch, they slow the bait down, trying to let the fish get it, and you just cannot do that. And see, there's one coming up on them. I'll speed it up a little bit. Didn't come back and get it though. I mean, try all over it. I mean, I almost get to the point sometimes where I just almost straight reel it and just barely shake my rod tip. And I just start reeling it fast, like I'm doing right here. Just barely shaking it and reeling that bait really quick. Look at that out there. A lot of people think that live scope is mainly for bottom top baits and baits that you use suspended subsurface, like a Damiki, swim baits, things like that. I'm using it constantly to see where fish are, to see where fish are set up the best for the bait that I'm using. You know, even when I'm throwing a Damiki rig or drop shot, any of that, I'm able to tell which fish are the catchable fish for my bait. You know, this top water, I'm seeing hundreds of bass out here 15 to 25 foot deep, but I know that those fish aren't gonna come up and get this today with the wind blowing like it is. So I'm only concentrating on the fish that are 8 to 10 foot or less under the surface. Those are the fish that I'm wanting to target with my top water, and the ones I'm throwing at the most. Right there's a little group, got several under it there. You know, on these places though, I pull up on them, I find the couple groups of fish that are the closest to the surface, throw out there to them, catch 2 or 3 of them, and then I'm not gonna waste a whole lot of time out here. Like I said, I caught 4 bass right here, and there's legit probably 400 more here. Could I pick up another bait and catch a few doing something else like a drop shot or Damiki? Absolutely, but I don't, when I go to running this pattern with this 3DB pencil and a 3DB weight prop, I'm bouncing around hitting as many places as I can. You know, that's the deal for me. I'm hitting high percentage places. The more places I can hit, the more bites I can get. And these are the baits that's gonna catch the bigger fish. You know, I mean, I can catch a good one occasionally on a drop shot. I can catch some good ones on a Damiki, but you just really have to slow down to do that. These fish are really aggressive this time of year. You don't have to try and catch every fish on a spot. So I bounce around and try and hit as many places as possible, pull up, make 8 or 10 casts, catch 2 or 3 fish. As soon as they quit wanting to bite, pull the trolling motor up and go to the next spot. But these places where they're down just a little bit deeper and we got a little wind, I'll throw this fluke out there, you know, and work it over them and catch them. There's so many different ways to catch these fish out here this time of year, you know, but something that looks real natural like a shad, that's the deal. That's a good one. Solid 3-pounder. But I mean, you just see they choke that bait too. But these fish are just so healthy. They're eating really good. These fish are so healthy. There he is. Well guys, I hope y'all enjoyed today as much as I have. You know, came out here this morning, spent us 3 or 4 hours on Lake Hampton and caught a pile of bass. Just out here fishing for these fish suspended out over these points that's real adjacent to deep water. These fish are out here in big giant schools, waiting to ambush these big giant schools of shad. You know, Hamilton's an incredible lake, and it's so good in the fall time. Probably one of the most underrated lakes in Arkansas. A lot of the guys that live around here, they know just how good it is, but it is so full of quality largemouth and spotted bass. And I hope some of this stuff that I showed you today can help you out on your lake around your house.
Be sure to like and subscribe, because we're going to be bringing content to you on a weekly basis for both fresh and saltwater to show you the quality of our products, how to use them, and how to make yourself a better fisherman by picking up Yo-Zuri line and lures. Go and pick them up, like and subscribe, fish the best, fish Yo-Zuri.